Good morning, everyone. Really good to be with you once again. And this morning I thought I would talk about the greatest commandment, which is, as most of us will know, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so I thought I would divide this into two sections. So this morning I'll be talking about loving the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And if we look at this word love, many people tend to love a lot of things. I love coffee, I love my pets, I love my dog, I love my car, etc., etc. And you know, for me that could be considered a fuzzy-wuzzy type of love. Let me explain. You're expecting something back. You love that thing because you're expecting something back. I love my coffee because I expect it to taste good and to give me caffeine and energy. I love my dog because I expect it to wag its tail whenever it sees me and to be happy whenever I get home. I love my bed because I expect it to be comfortable at night to allow me to have a good night's rest. That is a fuzzy-wuzzy type of love. You're expecting a lot from it. But if you look at the love that is shown in Matthew chapter 22, that is what is called agape love, which is an unconditional love. It's a love that doesn't expect anything in return. It's, if I can say, it's an unconditional type of love. And that's impossible, right? For us humans to love God with everything we are. As we know, we do sin. We are a fallen world, and it may be hard to love God with everything that we are. But that's what we're called to do. We are called to love God with everything that we are. We are called to love God with an unconditional type of love. And to not always expect something in return. And that may be hard for some people, but that's what we are called to do. We are called to love God unconditionally through the good and the bad. And so I want to flip through to Deuteronomy chapter 30 to give you a bit of background about this chapter. This is after Moses and the Israelites, this is after they've been wandering through the desert for the past 40 years, and they're about to enter the promised land. But before they did this, God wanted to get their full attention and to remind them that He has full authority over every single thing and the importance of obeying His command. You see here in Deuteronomy chapter 30, we see that the Israelites have lost their appreciation for God. They've lost their love for God. God is just that person that's there. They've lost their appreciation, meaning they've lost what God has done for them. They've lost what God has saved them from. And you can see that in Deuteronomy chapter 30, it starts off by God, our loving Father, showing a prediction of how He will regather Israel. You may be saying, well, regather them from what? He'll regather them from their disobedience and bring them back together after scattering them as a result of their sins. If we look at Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15, it says, "Now listen, today I am giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster." You see, back then, God gave the Israelites that option through Moses to choose life or death, to choose to follow God or to choose to die, in a sense. And 2,000 years later, that's the exact option that we have today. In today's world, we have the option of choosing life or choosing death. We have the option of choosing life, meaning to love God and to love Him unconditionally, or to choose death, to have that fuzzy-wuzzy type of love and to go on about our lives doing what we want to, not caring what God thinks or what God has in place for us. And this morning, I want to leave you guys with three points. Obviously, we're talking about how do we love God with everything that we are and with everything that we have. And the first point this morning is you've got to choose to follow Christ wholeheartedly. So for some people, this may sound very obvious. Well, Tim, when you become a Christian, that's what you do. you follow God wholeheartedly. You put Him first in your life. But in today's world, Christianity is viewed to be the biggest religion group ever. However, people tick Christian because they don't necessarily believe in another religion. It's easy to say that you're a Christian, but not to live out a Christian walk. And you need to, as Christians, we need to be fully devoting ourselves to Christ. We need to be allowing for His will to take place in our lives. And to be honest, it's not going to be easy, but we need to do it. We must want it to happen. We need to make a choice between life and death. And Jesus wants us to choose life as it pleases Him. And it means that one day when we die, we get to spend eternity with God and with Jesus in heaven. We can see, well, my second point is stop putting God in a box. You know, many Christians think that they can take God and they can fit God into their lives. And that He must do what they want Him to do it, when He want Him to do it, and how they want Him to do it. But that's not the right way of becoming a Christian. And that's not a right way of allowing God to have full control over your life. In order to love God and love the Lord unconditionally, we need to stop limiting what God can do. You know, you're not God, and you don't know what He is capable of. So why do we limit Him? Why do we say God can only do this and not that? We're not God. We can't even fathom what God is capable of, but yet we still limit Him. We need to be loving Him unconditionally, allowing Him to do His will in our lives, to stop limiting Him, to stop putting Him in a box and trying to fit Him into our lives. But rather, we need to be loving Him unconditionally and allowing Him to fit us into His life, into the plan that He has for us. We step out in faith every single day of our lives, in our relationships with our friends, maybe in a relationship with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, in the tasks that we do for each day, and even into the world around us. We can't be like the Israelites and doubt God. We need to love and trust in God wholeheartedly, that He is capable of doing everything and anything He wants to do. A couple of weeks ago, one of my lecturers from J-Life was talking about, with God, even the impossible is possible. We need to have that mindset when we become a Christian. With God, the impossible becomes possible. We need to stop putting God in a box. We need to allow Him to do what He wants to do, and we just need to be submissive to Him. We need to allow Him to use us for His purpose. My third and final point this morning is we need to pursue God. Can you imagine having a friendship with someone that you care dearly for, and you love more than anything in this world, but you never speak to them, or you never find out more about them? I personally don't know of a friendship or relationship like that. So in saying this, as Christians, we can't expect our relationship to grow with God and to grow in God if we aren't willing to put the effort in. We need to pursue God wholeheartedly. We need to allow Him we need to study God's word, and we need to seek His will for our lives. And then allow God's will to be done in our lives. Going back to point 2, stop putting God in a box. We need to be allowing God to do what He wants to do, when He wants to do it, and us just submitting through to Him and saying, God, I'm pursuing You. You are the one I want to be like. I want to live my life for You. Do what You want. We need to be constantly having time in prayer, constantly having time spent in His Word. And it may be hard at first, but after a while, it's not going to be that difficult to spend 30 minutes in prayer or 30 minutes studying the Word. But we need to be constantly praying and talking to God, opening our pipeline up to Him. We need to be praying to Him when things are going well and when things are going bad. We need to enjoy being in His presence. and we need to take time to get to know Him. We can't expect to grow and to move forward in our faith if we aren't getting to know Him, if we aren't taking time out of our day getting to know Him. So as we are walking in faith with God day by day, we remember that just as God invited the Israelites to choose life by loving and obeying God and keeping God's commandments, we are also invited to choose life through love and obedience to God by the power of Christ in us. I hope that this has been an encouraging devotion for you this morning. God bless you all as you go into your weekend.